Today, I welcome my co-host, Jason Stolwell, who will be chatting with Michael Kerr in our special Thinking Ahead show. Today's theme is tips and ideas on how to be happier in your job and how to create an inspiring workplace culture. Stay tuned for another educational episode from the Fitness Business Podcast. Hi, everybody. I am your weekly host, Dory Nugent, and every 3 months, we have a specialty show entitled Thinking Ahead that is designed to get you thinking. We want you considering trends and movements and ideas before they become common. This show will get you ahead of the trend curve. We will hear from our Thinking Ahead host, Jason, very soon. First, a huge thank you to Hapana for supporting our show.
This podcast is brought to you by Hapana. Hapana is a cutting-edge membership management solution prioritizing insane engagement. Hapana puts your brand first so you can facilitate deep, meaningful connections with clients and members to book, pay, consume content, and build community. Hapana partners with fitness brands in both the boutique and big box segments that want to drive efficient operations and maximum engagement with clients and members. And they do this by providing direct world-class support with a passionate team who cares about your success. To see how you can transform your brand, go to hapana.com and ask for a demonstration. Hapana, engineered for engagement.
Hapana, thank you so much for sponsoring our episode today. And FBP family, make sure you check out all the great offerings at www.hapana.com. Developing Sales Leaders, How I Show Up Matters, is next week's episode by Brian Weaver. Brian is a high-performance sales and executive leadership coach for the Jacobson Leadership Academy. MyZone has pioneered unique wearables with talking point technology that makes the difference. Reach more members of your community and keep them engaged for longer through motivation and gamification wherever they choose to work out. In the gym, at home, or outdoors, we're stronger together. Get in the zone at myzone.org. Now let's transition into the Thinking Ahead show with Jason and Michael.
Hello, FBP family. This is Jason Stoll with the Thinking Ahead show. On today's show, we welcome Michael Kerr. Michael is a Canadian Hall of Fame business speaker who travels the world researching, writing, and speaking about inspiring workplace cultures and businesses that leverage their humor resources to help them laugh all the way to the bank. Michael is also the author of 8 books, including The Humor Advantage, Why Some Businesses Are Laughing All the Way to the Bank, and The Jerk-Free Workplace, How You Can Take the Lead to Create a Happier, More Inspiring Workplace. Thank you for joining us today, Michael. Before we dive in, would you mind taking a moment to tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and your professional journey to date?
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Jason. It's fabulous to be here. My name is Michael Kerr. I'm coming to you live. I guess it's a good thing I'm coming to you live. I think we could have assumed that already. From the spectacular Canadian Rockies in Canmore, Alberta, Canada. So about 25 years ago, I was a senior communications manager in an organization that became, how do I put this politely, a soul-sucking, fun-sucking kind of workplace, which perhaps some of you can relate. Over the journey of your life, it was just draining the life out of me. And I thought, I've got to do something different with my life. So I decided to quit that soul-sucking job and create my business, Humor at Work, to deliver the message that work should not be sucking the life out of us. In fact, just the opposite. Work should be energizing us. We should, I think, in an ideal workplace, in an ideal world, we should feel more energy at the end of a workday. So I wanted to make that my mission. I started my business, and since then, it has just been a blast. I've had the pleasure of traveling all over the world, speaking, writing, and researching inspiring workplace cultures, inspiring leaders, inspiring teams, and especially with a emphasis because I want to have fun. And I really believed in the power of humor and fun in my job when I was a manager. I especially talk about the role humor plays in teams, in leadership, in helping us stay healthier and happier, and in helping us create truly rocking workplaces that can help us laugh all the way to the bank. Hence one of my books, The Humor Advantage, why some businesses are laughing all the way to the bank. So that's been my journey. I've written 8 books along the way. I've met so many cool people and audience members from around the world. It is been an incredible pleasure to be able to do this, to bring this message to audiences. So I'm having a blast.
That's incredible, and I have no doubt that your humor translates through wherever you do, wherever you go, for sure. So if you don't mind, I've heard you talk a lot about the role of culture, workplace culture, in terms of both business success and everyone's happiness. So can you tell us a little bit about why does culture play such a huge role?
Yeah. So workplace culture, and let's just stop there for a moment. By culture, I just mean how you do the things you do in your team. Even if you have a team of just 5 people, you have a culture. And it's not the what you do, it's how you're interacting with each other. It's the unique set of rituals, traditions, values, behaviors that make your team or your workplace unique. It's your personality, it's your DNA, it's the feel of the place, the smell of the place. And we know that workplace culture is the number one driver of success. Doesn't matter what you do for a living, what business you're in, it drives success because it affects absolutely every aspect of your job and your business. It affects how people communicate and collaborate with one another, how innovative you are, how much stress you have in the workplace, how resilient people are. It affects your customer service and customer experience that you deliver. So it has a huge impact on our workplace. And I always remind people too that work, of course, has a huge impact on our lives that goes just beyond getting a paycheck. Work is the single biggest use of our waking hours in this short journey called life. It affects our marriages, our physical and mental health, our family lives, our identity, who we socialize with, where we live often. It's, as I said, just a wee bit of a time sucker. So I think we owe it to ourselves. We owe it to our colleagues, our employees, our customers, our family members, our souls to create as rocking and inspiring workplace as possible because this sucker matters. And so we know it has a profound impact on our happiness in life and work. Our workplace has a huge impact on how happy people are, and a positive workplace where people feel welcomed and appreciated, where you have a sense of connection and meaning and purpose and all those good things. People, of course, are happier in those kind of environments. And there's a little bit of a chicken and egg relationship with all this stuff too, right? I talk about, for example, how humor helps create a more positive, inspiring workplace, but it also reflects a positive, inspiring workplace. In other words, if we do those things that we need to do to create a more positive, successful workplace culture, humor will just flow out of that naturally, organically. It'll be easier for people to bring a good attitude and to bring their sense of humor along for their ride. And I guess the same is true with happiness too. If we want to be happier, and who doesn't want to be happier as an ultimate goal in life, right? If we want to create happier workplaces, I think we need to think about our own attitude that we're bringing into work. We need to think about our own just level of happiness that we're choosing to bring into work. And that's going to help us create a more positive environment. But there's a positive feedback loop here, chicken and egg cycle again, or perhaps in this case, a rubber chicken and egg cycle, Jason, where people will just naturally be happier if we're building a positive, inspiring, collaborative workplace.
No doubt. So may I ask, do you have any fun examples of businesses that have added humor into the mix and improved workplace culture?
Oh, yeah, there's so many. And that's one of the, probably one of the most fun parts of my job is going into these businesses or finding these businesses that are doing things that are really creative, really unique, that are really different. One example I talk about is Argus Industries in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And they have this wonderful mantra that they embrace at Argus. And I think this is an awesome mantra for all of us to embrace. And it is simply this: work is hard enough as it is without making it any harder. So let's work hard, but hey, let's have a little bit of fun along the way. And maybe if we embrace a little bit more fun, will actually be more successful with our goals. And Argus is a great example of that. Incredibly successful business, ridiculously low employee turnover rate. They embrace a spirit of fun in a lot of things they do. So they have fun theme days that they do, fun contests, fun games between the employees that they do. And one of my favorite examples from Argus of some of the wackiness they bring into work is many years ago, they had this tradition where starting on December 1st always, an employee would come into work and would dress up in a giant gorilla costume and then hide somewhere in the manufacturing plant, in the front office, under people's desks, in a closet. And then they would have either a person or a hidden video camera secretly videotaping the reactions of all the people running into this scary gorilla and screaming their heads off. And then they create this montage video of everybody just freaking out, screaming over the gorilla that they would show at their year-end party. And that became a huge part of their culture, the huge tradition. And wow, traditions and rituals, we can maybe circle back to this later on. They're so important when it comes to building a strong, vibrant culture. So Argus Industries, of course, they take their work seriously. We're not talking about taking our work lightly. We're talking about taking ourselves lightly in order to take our work seriously. And they're a great example, I think, of a company that focuses relentlessly on their culture. They have built what they call a tribal culture, with the belief that they want everybody to understand there is just one team, right? We have different departments. We have the blue collar guys, the white collar guys, marketing, sales, manufacturing, right? All the different departments, but we just have one team at Argus. But they work hard at making sure through their words and through their behaviors that everyone understands there's just one central team. And hey, we want you to work hard, but we want you to have fun along the way.
I love the framework of tribal culture. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then the gorilla outfit montage video, I think that's pretty amazing. I think a lot of us can implement that pretty quickly in some fun, dynamic ways. But let me
sorry, Jason. I was just going to say that, and it doesn't have to be that big or that outrageous always, right? Sometimes it's just simple little small things. I remember several years ago, I phoned up Shutterfly, the website where you share photos and make calendars and all that good stuff with your photos. I phoned them up with a customer concern I had, and I got the usual automated voicemail response with all these endless options that we're all used to listening through. But then they wowed me. They delighted me with their little use of humor, because at the end of the options, they said on the voicemail, if you want to hear all these options again, but in pirate, please press 9. Well, of course I wanted to hear it in pirate. Who would not choose the pirate option? Everybody watching this, you would choose the pirate option. Of course you would. So I pressed 9. There was a pirate. It was all translated into piratese. Matey, if you think your package has been lost in high seas, press number 2, matey. Like, how cool is that? I got off the phone just loving these guys.
That's super cool. But so let me pivot on the other side of that. So especially, and I know everyone's tired of hearing post-pandemic this, post-pandemic that, but a lot of us have been working harder with less staff, and as revenues compressed and challenged. Don't you get a lot of pushback with using humor right now? How can people overcome that if they're this overly serious environment? How can they get back to adding humor into the environment without feeling like they're not too serious or risking getting fired or anything like that?
Right. Yeah, and that's a great question, Jason. Although I am finding actually that because of COVID, I think people are extra hungry for humor. They're actually starving for humor, and they're saying, we need to have fun again. Help us bring back the fun, the energy into our workplace. We need to re-find our mojo. Because it's been, as I jokingly say, it's been quite the decade these last 2 years. So I think we need to be extra intentional about doing things that are going to help engage people, that are going to help us keep our sense of humor and bring more levity into the workplace. And if you're concerned about that, because of course a lot of people are saying, well, I don't want to get fired. So how do you practice humor without getting fired, right? I think one of the things that really helps, and certainly what I do in my books, when I'm speaking to audiences, is I share example after example after example, like the Argus industry example, of businesses that are doing this, that are actually practicing fun, safe humor in the workplace and are more successful because of it. So I think we have to sell the benefits of humor. I think we have to remind people that humor is an incredible tool to just help us be more authentic at work, to create a more humane workplace. I mean, humor is thought to be one of the most human characteristics of all. So we're really just talking about bringing more humanity into the workplace, I think. And I remind people that it's not about, when we talk about bringing our sense of humor along for the ride, it's not about being a stand-up comedian or telling jokes or even always being funny. It's about having a sense of perspective about our issues, a sense of balance. It's about laughing at the things we can't control. And with a pandemic, that's quite a bit, right? So we need to practice that extra intentionally. And it's especially about learning to laugh at ourselves a little more, or maybe a lot more. Is it not a truism, after all, that the more seriously a person takes themselves, the less seriously we tend to take that person, which is a little bit ironic because people take themselves seriously in the hopes that everyone's going to take me more seriously. When the reality becomes, no, bucko, we are not taking you seriously because you're taking yourself so bloody seriously. So it's about lightening up on ourselves. It's about thinking about how we can use our sense of humor as well to make the people around us feel better. And I think that's a really good way to frame it, rather than thinking of how we can use our sense of humor to make us look good and put the spotlight on us. What if we flip that around and said, hey, how could I inject a little bit of humor into this meeting, into this conversation, into this interaction, into this tense moment to make the other person feel a little bit better? So it is about practicing positive humor, safe humor. It is about making sure that we're still, of course, getting our jobs done. And if you're worried about introducing it into, as you said, Jason, a very conservative environment, then my recommendation is to start slowly. Just start with some simple things that you can do. I think it's important for the senior leadership team to model it, that it's okay, because your employees will take your lead. And then look for simple opportunities. Your meetings, for example, are a great place where you should be introducing humor and where you can introduce humor to send a powerful message about your culture. Hey, we don't take ourselves overly seriously here. It's okay to have a little bit of fun. And not only is it okay to have a little bit of fun, we want you to have some fun here, because we honestly believe we are all going to be more successful because of that.
You've also written about how humor doesn't just make you happier, it makes you more resilient. So can you help us, like, how does humor help me, deal with my bad hair day, for example?
Right. Oh, you want to see a bad hair day, Jason? Do you want to see a bad hair day? All right. Here's a bad hair day. There's a bad hair day, everyone. That's how I've been waking up during COVID the last couple of years, some days, which I'm sure some of you can relate, right? This is a bad hair day now. Now look at this. I'm gonna never get this back to whatever it was before.
That'll be the screenshot for the.
There you go. Yeah. Stuff. Oh, his guest was drunk on that episode. Do you know, Jason, that often when I'm doing in-person presentations, not so much now that I'm losing my hair, but in the old days, I always, about 2-3 times a year, would have a woman come up after a keynote or after a workshop and ask me if this was a toupee. Oh. And I started to, why are you asking this? I started to get offended because I started thinking, if I had a toupee, why would I have one that looks like this? But I digress. So yes, dealing with your bad hair days. We could talk about this for hours because there's so many tips that I love to share about resiliency and just checking our attitude. But in terms of the role of humor specifically, some psychologists do believe that a sense of humor is perhaps one of the most powerful stress busters available to us, because it helps us. First of all, it helps us just relax. In fact, humor is a triple threat, I would say, when it comes to helping us manage those bad hair days. Because when you tap into your sense of humor and laugh, there's a cognitive response. So it can change how you think about a really stressful situation or problem. There's an emotional response. So it shifts you emotionally, even just for a few seconds. And then there's a physical response when you laugh. In fact, and this has been studied a lot, right? The last many years, when you laugh, we know that it tends to massage those muscles where we pick up a lot of tension, right? You can tell when people are stressed out, so it massages those muscles. It increases the oxygen going to your brain, and oxygen going to your brain at work, highly recommended. It increases the activity in our T killer cells. It increases salivary immunoglobulin A, which helps fight respiratory infections. According to a Simon Fraser University study, Laughter actually relaxes our bodies faster than either Valium or vodka, two things you probably shouldn't be bringing to the office, kids. And you got to love this one. According to Dr. William Fry, 20 or 30 seconds of good, hearty belly laughter is the same physical workout in terms of calories lost as a couple minutes on a rowing machine. So now you know what I do. Now that I know this little piece of information, I just go down to my local gym in Canmore here, and I just laugh at the people working out. So bad. So we know it's a triple threat, right? That it helps break the tension when we're dealing with stressful situations. And there's especially two other ways that it can help us. So it can help us relax and rejuvenate ourselves, but it can also help pull us out of the dungeon when we're having a really challenging time or bad hair day, right? It can help us celebrate at those times when we feel like, this is not an appropriate time to celebrate. Well, I want to remind everybody, those are exactly the times you need to take a break and celebrate and have a little bit of fun. For example, it's been shown with search and rescue dogs that are dealing with a huge disaster where all the dogs are doing are finding dead bodies in maybe a building collapse or an avalanche, that sometimes some of those dogs will get so depressed they'll quit working, even though they've been trained their whole life to do this. They'll sit down and, this job sucks. You go try it for a while. So what they figured out to do is they reward their dog for their stress by burying a live member of the search and rescue team in the avalanche or wherever, so that the dog keeps finding live people and feels good about themselves and feels good about their job. So I'm thinking if it works with dogs, maybe it works with us. And it does in all sorts of different situations. There's a bank, for example, that started giving out an award for essentially whoever had to deal with the biggest jerk coming into the bank, because people were getting stressed out by these regular jerks. It was affecting their resiliency at work. So I said, I've got to flip this around. So let's create a reward. At the end of every week, somebody will get a small reward for whoever had to deal with the biggest jerk of the week coming into the bank. Totally flip the problem around so that it disappeared, to the point that the tellers were now fighting with each other to serve the biggest jerks coming into the bank. And then
incredible idea.
It's a great idea, right? And we can apply this to so many things. You could have a reward at the end of the month where you give out a prize to just whoever had one of those just god-awful days at work. Like, who just had the most brutal day, and you give them a small prize. Or who did something really embarrassing. We used to have, I don't have my bonehead here. Oh, yeah, wait, I'll be right back. Everybody stay where you are. We used to have the official Bonehead Play of the Month award somewhere where I worked. So if you did something embarrassing that probably caused yourself a little stress, you would have to nominate yourself, because it doesn't build that positive team spirit if you start nominating each other as boneheads. And then we would have a little ceremony Friday afternoon. It took 5 minutes, right? 5 minutes, last Friday of the month. You would have to present your case for why you deserve the Bonehead Play of the Month award. You would get a small prize. It was a big honor. But think about this too. It not only did it help us deal with those things that caused us stress, it also created that environment of psychological safety where we were okay to admit our mistakes, so we didn't keep repeating them, where we could say, yeah, I really screwed up, and it's okay if we screw up from time to time because we're human, right? So the last R is the power, and this one is perhaps the most powerful even, is humor has the power to reframe our challenges, to reframe the things that cause us stress. And I know this is easier said than done, but we have to remember that stress is in the eye of the beholder. It is not the things that happen to us in the workplace, in life, that causes us stress. It is our interpretation of the things that happen to us that is the sole source of stress. Humor very much is also in the eye of the beholder. Humor is just a way of seeing the world around us. So if we can practice just looking at things with a little bit of a comedic outlook, with a little bit of humorous reframing, it really can help us to choose a more positive reaction to the things that are stressing us out, to help us just pause in the moment, take a little mental time out, and feel like we're more in control of our response. So it helps us respond thoughtfully instead of react emotionally in the moment.
Love that. So let me ask again. I'm gonna pivot one last time. I know you just finished creating this online course on customer engagement. How does
Mhm.
this fit into everything we just spoke about today?
Yeah, and that's sort of part of my umbrella that I talk about under the workplace culture umbrella, because customer service, customer experience, which really, and those two things are related but different, both feed up to workplace culture. I honestly believe you cannot have great customer service or great customer experience unless first and foremost you start on the inside and you build an inspiring service first culture. And so your service has to start on the inside. And by the way, that's a pretty good idea if you want to build a better customer service, or sorry, a better culture. Then remind yourself that some of your most important customers are sitting right next to you. They're right there. They're on the inside. They're your teammates, your employees, your boss are your customers. So what would happen if we started treating them like our most valuable customer in the world? Of course, you're going to build a better workplace. Of course, you're going to build a more rocking, inspiring culture. So having that service mindset helps us build a better culture. But then when we build that better culture, again, it's that chicken and egg thing, Jason, then it's easier to deliver on that service and that customer experience promise. So yeah, I had the pleasure of creating this course, and it's all very much focused on what you can do no matter what business you're in, maybe even especially if you're a small business owner, to ramp up your customer experience so you really are thought of as a service first business and culture. And the element of fun goes in there too, right? So I talk about that a lot in the course and in my stuff, because again, there's the overlap with the humor. If we want people to have a good experience with us, like when I phoned up Shutterfly and just even on a voicemail response, or when they drop by our website, can we inject a little humor? Can we add a little fun onto our website, into our interactions with our customers, so they have a more positive, memorable experience with us? Can we use humor in our marketing and sales to help us stand out from the herd to be heard?
This was both timely and terrific, and I'm excited to share this show with our listeners. So after they listen to the show, if they would like to contact you directly, learn more about you, your books, your online courses, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, thank you for that, Jason. My website is www.mikekerr.com. You can find all sorts of videos, lots of articles there. I would invite everybody to sign up for my weekly e-zine, Inspiring Workplaces. Comes out every Wednesday with all sorts of great tips on just how to rock it at work. It's fun, but I think with really valuable tips. And if you sign up for the newsletter, you will get the free ebook, 401 Ways to Create a More Inspiring, Fun, Rocking Workplace Culture. I have a YouTube channel, Inspiring Workplaces, Michael Kerr. If you Google that, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. I share videos every week on all of this stuff that we've been talking about today. And if you want to reach out to me by email, Mike@MikeKerr are my coordinates. So I would love to hear from you. I'd love to answer any questions that you may have, or help you in any way I can.
Well, Michael, I can't thank you enough. This has been a home run show, and I look forward to hearing how many of our listeners have reached out to you to build on such an important piece in our workplace today. Thank you again, sir.
Looking for a gym wipe that is gentle on fitness equipment but tough on eliminating germs? Look no further. Vapor Fresh gym wipes are specifically designed to be safe on all gym equipment. And the fact that they are the only plant-based disinfectant wipe on the market makes them the top choice. Vapor Fresh wipes come in 2 convenient sizes. The smaller canister is perfect for home gyms and boutique studios, and the jumbo refill roll fits perfectly into the dispensers. Vapor Fresh wipes, 100% happiness guaranteed.
Quick Fire 5, sponsored by Hapana.
Please welcome Brian Weaver from the Jacobson Leadership Academy, and let's find out his answers to our Quick Fire 5 questions. Welcome, everybody, to our Quickfire 5 segment. I'm excited to bring Brian Weaver with us today. He's going to be next week's guest. Brian, thanks for coming on Quickfire 5.
Hey, Dory. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm dying to know, what is one item on your bucket list?
Bucket list item number one is to go to every single MLS stadium in the country. My family and I started this journey about 3 years ago. We have 10 down and about 15 or 16 more to go. They keep building new ones, so I don't know if it'll ever end, but that's number one on the bucket list.
Okay, and let's just deviate really quickly because you said MLS, and we want everybody to know that you're a huge soccer fan. Because why, Brian? Go ahead, brag a little bit. Go ahead.
Yep. I played Division I soccer at San Jose State a long time ago. Thanks for bringing that up, Dory. My wife also played Division I soccer, and both boys play soccer. So we are a massive soccer family.
All right. So, of course, that's on your bucket list. I think that's a really cool family adventure to take on.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
All right. Whose business brain of everybody out there in the world, past or present, whose business brain would you like to pick?
So through the pandemic, pre-pandemic and during pandemic, spend a lot of time at Starbucks. And I would love to pick the brain of Howard Schultz. I am extremely fascinated by two things. How many people are always at Starbucks spending money? And two, the people that stand behind the counter that are always so happy to see you, remember your name, not even when they cheat and write it on the cup, but they remember if you go often. And I would just love to hear kind of how he built that and what his mindset was around like creating something that turned out to be so awesome.
You know, we talk about Starbucks a lot on the Fitness Business Podcast. And I don't know, I think I have it. I think for me, I spend a lot of money at Starbucks, a lot, because I never just get a coffee. Never.
Right.
I think it's consistency and the fact that I know that no matter if I go to the Starbucks here in my town in Florida or if I go to the one out in the middle of Montana, consistency.
Yeah, that's well said. And, I think they've adapted a upsell mentality lately too, because I'm always getting asked, what else? What else do you want? So I think for you and I, our money's being spent more rapidly as they keep upselling us.
Well, that is a fantastic business brain to pick. And if you ever get that opportunity, you have to let us know and maybe even come on and do another segment for us.
I will, for sure.
All right. Question number 3. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. What is the most visited page for your website?
Yeah, the JacobsonLeadershipAcademy.com. It's the About Us page. What's really cool about this page is it digs into the mission, vision, values. So it really describes kind of what we're all about. And then the team right below that is About Us, the individual coaches that are on the Jacobson Leadership Academy team. We have former professional athletes, Olympic athletes, college athletes, and just people that are passionate about helping others get to a higher level of themselves and personally and professionally. So that's the page that's most sought after.
Great. Awesome. Great page. How about a book recommendation for all of our FBP family out there? What are you reading these days? Or maybe what have you read recently that you'd love to recommend?
Yeah, the one that's had the most impact and like really changed my life is The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. For those of you that don't know, he's studied all the people in the world that are most successful, and he found something that they all have in common. They get up early and they start their day with intention. And then he breaks it out into like 6 areas. I won't get into all of them, but just 6 areas of focus that they all spend time in. And it could be 1 minute a day, 10 minutes a day, an hour a day. And if you live there in the morning, the first thing, it dictates kind of how the rest of the day goes.
Oh, sounds like a great read. Fantastic. All right. So next week, you're coming on to the Fitness Business Podcast. I'm super excited. You're going to talk about developing sales leaders and how I show up matters. So why don't you give our FBP one moment of next week's episode?
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Dory. How you show up significantly impacts the results that you're desiring. When we shift away from being a victim or blaming others for what's not working, and we get into a place of power and ownership, the entire game changes. So we're going to spend a lot of time next week talking about what's involved in how I show up matters and how we can actually implement it right away into our lives to see the results we're looking for.
All right, FBP family, mark your calendars for Brian Weaver. He is the high performance sales and executive leadership coach for Jacobson Leadership Academy. Well, that's a wrap on another weekly episode here at the Fitness Business Podcast. I would like to say thank you to our founding partner, Active Management. Our partners, Keep Me, MyZone, ISSA, and Hapana, as well as our advertisers, Rex Roundtables, MX Metrics, and Vaporfresh. We believe what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but woven into the lives of others.